You didn't send out a revised one, did you?
Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of Monday, November 23rd. If you please join me in standing with the Pledge of Allegiance before we take the roll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if the clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald. Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Beeden.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Mosherak.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. You have the minutes before you from the regular meeting of November the 9th. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So move, Madam Chair.
Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Second.
Got a whole lot there. Councilmember Lamb. Is there any changes to the minutes? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as submitted. We do have one presentation this evening. The clerk would please read it.
DDA Director Cynthia Cutright will give an update on the 2020 Santa Parade.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, thank you for having me up here to share with you a little bit about the Sperry Santa Parade for this year. As in tradition, the Sperry Santa Parade will be this upcoming Friday. It's always the Friday right after Thanksgiving with the kickoff at 6 p.m. And that is the last thing that is traditional about this parade. We've actually renamed it the Sperry's Drive-Through Santa Spectacle because it's an inverted parade, meaning the normal parade viewers are the one that's driving through the route and the parade participants are stationed around our route. Our route this year is actually also traditional. It's moved from downtown Port Huron to just a little bit north to Pine Grove Park. And the reason for that was actually to line up with, to be in cooperation with the city Parks and Rec Department, who was putting on I think they're calling it the Celebration of Winter Light Spectacle throughout Pine Grove Park. I think they have right now about 35, maybe a little more businesses that have signed on to putting stations throughout Pine Grove Park, in addition to lighting up trees. So it's really going to be a pretty magical evening, actually, as we turn on those lights, and all those lights will be up and throughout the park. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Atchison Ventures that have come in and helped us out getting some additional lights that they had donated to us to be able to use for this to really help fill out the park, and especially that ball field area. So we're very thankful to them for that. The parade this year, which is the drive-through, will be along Michigan Street. So we're actually going from the south end of the park up to the north to Thomas Edison Parkway, where you can exit out of either side there. We are asking that anyone that would be driving through to enter onto McMorran, Michigan from McMorran, just so that way we can back up and give ourselves plenty of space. Truthfully, we're not really sure exactly how this will go, so we appreciate everyone's patience as we figure out exactly how we'll be moving through here. But we're really excited. Santa will still be coming to town after all, so we're very thankful, that we're able to do this in just a slightly different way. Also wanted to give a shout out to Parks Director, or Division Head, Ben Pionk and his crew for all of their help downtown. Also, untraditionally, you will see that the normal tree is not at McMorran this year. It has been moved to the Community Foundation, the Michigan Mutual Plaza, so we're thankful that we've been able to put that there. And so everything's just looking a little differently this year, but if we're going to do something different, this is the year to do that. And I really think that we're in for another magical evening. So the parade will be 6 to 8 p.m. Santa has to go back to North Pole at 8 p.m. sharp. So we are asking everyone to be mindful of that. If there are any backups, it might not be a bad idea to get in line in plenty of time in hopes to see Santa. So it's going to be a really fun evening. We're going to do the best we can with the circumstances we have and try and get people to, get out and just remember what the season's all about.
I have a question for you, not, or rather, just something to bring up. The traffic is going to go one way through Pine Grove Park.
Correct. It
So
will-
that nobody tries to get in and come the other direction?
Correct. One-way Pine Grove Park, south, up north, and actually a few streets, even south of that, some side streets will have blocked off, or at least directional traffic. All the residents will still be able to access their homes. We will have folks there stationed to help with that flow of traffic if people need to come access their homes in and out. But yeah, it will be one way.
And the lighting of the actual tree is going to, did I understand you're going to do it on Facebook Live?
Yes, yes, yeah, it will
Just
be.
prompt the,
Yeah, probably about 5:30, 5:45, we'll go on Facebook Live on the downtown Port Huron page with the mayor and with Santa. We will do a lighting of the Christmas tree in our downtown before making our way towards Pine Grove Park and lighting that at 6 p.m. sharp, which I think that lighting also, we'll plan to have that on Facebook Live for anyone that doesn't able to make it out. They can see it there, and we'll save that video as well so you can watch it later if needed as well.
well, great job pulling it together, because it certainly was a year when you knew we weren't going to have a parade. So I congratulate you and all our Parks and Rec staff for putting together what's, you're right, it's probably going to be very magical.
I think it's
Then you're going
gonna
to
be
have to do it every year.
Yeah, yes.
Not because we'll be like this, but just because it'll turn out nicely.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes, go
You-
right ahead, Bob.
thanks, you answered my first question was about the tree lighting, because I have had that question from a couple people. Cynthia, great job, by the way, but are we encouraging or discouraging people from leaving their vehicles and walking around in the open areas? What are we doing about that, or how are we handling that?
Right, from that 6 to 8 p.m. time slot, it will be drive-through strictly. I will say too, a few questions have come forward. Those lights will be up for the remainder of the season. So if you would choose to, you are always welcome to come back down another night. Yes, our parade participants won't be there, but you'll be able to walk through, really explore all the stations, see what we've got going on. I believe there will be a couple days hot cocoa will be available downtown, or down there as well. Check out the Parks and Rec page on Facebook for that. They'll have that information.
Is it the Pine Grove?
The entire Pine Grove Park is where that's at.
Any other questions from anybody on council?
You.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. We'll move on to public hearings. Number 1, please.
To hear comments on the Brownfield Plan for the Wrigley Center LLC redevelopment project for 318 Grand River Avenue. Following the hearing, council will consider approving the plan.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening on public hearing number 1? And I can see we have someone coming on down that I recognize.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. Briefly, I looked over this one item tonight, and I'm just going to kind of defer hopefully to the city manager tonight and kind of explain this first agreement here on how much substantially money this is going to affect us. I think the biggest takedown from the whole thing is for the first time in many years, we're going to get some property taxes off of this. But now it sounds like we're taking some downtown development money and to help them out, and I just wish hopefully we can get some interpretation of this. Thank you.
We'll have the city manager address this when the item's before us. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening on public hearing number 1?
This is Larry Jones, downtown Port Huron. Thanks, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. I guess I just want to thank everybody for everybody's hard work. This is a project that is set empty, for many years, and there's been no taxes or anything made on it. This is it's a very difficult project to put together because there's a lot of different parts, and it still hasn't approved. Everybody keep their fingers crossed, because as these things go, like the stuff tonight has to be approved in order for somebody else to approve their, piece of the financing and that. So, even though, it looks good and we're sure hoping, we put a lot of work and effort into it, we're still not out of the woods yet. So, it's just every little piece opens up, so another piece can get approved and another piece. So we're hoping that all these little pieces come together, so by the end of December, sometime between the 15th and the 23rd, that we'll be able to close on the financing and then, of course, get started right away. This is a project that everybody's excited about because they really feel the impact that it's going to put on our downtown and our community, the amount of people that it's going to bring into our downtown. What a lot of people are looking at is how they feel, especially with the COVID. You know, it's hurt so many businesses. So they're looking at what they can do to be able to help make the businesses that people have already invested time and money into to make them successful. And so that everybody really feels that this is a project that's going to be able to bring families together in a walking downtown community and build that core of our town that will spread outward. So that's what's kind of exciting, that we can have something that would come out of this COVID thing, and we'll be able to have something in our downtown that families are going to be able to enjoy. It's going to create jobs, it's going to create housing, it's going to create the walking environment, and it's going to create taxes. So, and it's going to, you know, everybody really looks at it's going to create those same things in other areas of the town, you know, jobs and foot traffic and, you know, and tax dollars. So, you know, I appreciate everybody's hard work. This is a project that has had to come together very quickly because of financing, so everybody has went over and beyond to get that and accomplish that work. So I just want to say thanks to everybody.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I'll declare public hearing number 1 closed and ask for a motion to approve the plan.
So move.
Councilmember Ashford.
Support.
Playing tricks on you.
Yeah, it's hard with the masks on, here is doing it, yes, Councilmember Pemberton. Is there discussion, we'll have the city manager explain it.
Madam Mayor and Council, appreciate the opportunity. What this represents today, and I'm going to actually speak for the matter, since they all go together, I'm going to speak about all 3 public hearings you have before you tonight. It represents a brownfield plan. It also represents creating the Oprah district and deploying an Oprah agreement as well, exemption certificate. First and foremost, this is not going to cost the city of Port Huron any tax money. We're not giving them any money. In fact, right now, the property is off the tax rolls because it's held by the county. When it was sold to the developer, it actually went back on the tax roll for an assessed value of right around $200,000. There's a reason why this building has sat empty for many years, and that's because it has immense hurdles, both between environmental and obsolescence, that can't really be overcome. About $1.6 million in environmental issues for remediation and obsolete structural and operational features of that building, which are outlaid in the brownfield plan. So we will not give the developer any money. However, we will allow the developer to capture for up to 30 years a portion of those taxes to recoup those costs to get over those hurdles. Because if we don't, no one will ever develop that building. It'll continue to sit there. So it's about $1.6 million for environmental remediation and structural changes, which are in your plan. Now, the plan is for a brownfield for about 30 years. However, it's most likely after 16 to 17 years, those unique costs for brownfield and obsolescence will be recovered, and you could see the brownfield start to generate taxes much earlier than 30 years. 30 years is the worst case scenario. On top of that, we're doing mezzanine financing as well because of the obsolete property. There's obsolescence there. The HVAC, the building as a whole, essentially needs to be completely restructured to be of any use in its current marketplace. So like we have done for other facilities, we will grant them a 10-year obsolete property exemption. To do that, your public hearing number 2 creates the district, and public hearing number 3 actually creates that exemption. So those 3 are what we call mezzanine financing to get this done. But we're not giving the developer any money. We're just allowing the developer to recoup those brownfield costs, which are extraordinary, to make this project happen. And when it's done, we will have that property on the tax rolls and an asset in downtown Port Huron. So it's costing the taxpayers nothing.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussion from council? Questions for the city manager?
No, just to support, I was particularly interested in that one because under section 2.4, it did state that no advances are going to be applied on behalf of the city. So I thought that was a good thing because it could go either way. You know, we don't have a cap on that. But I did have a question on 2.6 when we talk about the duration of the brownfield plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know from the table, I looked at it was for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? And it says, or 30 years, or could be sooner. What could make that any sooner?
That's when it will actually begin, or if they pay it off, if they get the project done sooner and it's fully on the rolls. So we're structuring that it's gonna be done in '23, and then it'll be that assessment. But you all have seen Larry, he works pretty fast.
Right.
So if he gets it done in 2 weeks, it'll be on sooner. So it's from when we declare the project occupied and on the full value assessed rolls.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure that. And I saw all the listed activities that primarily cover non-environmental and environmental stuff in there. And then also, I would just like to say to Mr. Jones that this is going to be a game changer for downtown Port Huron, not just downtown Port Huron, but our city at large and our region, people coming in. Because it's one thing that has always been missing to me as far as our downtown, where it's gone, you know, it's no nightlife or presence or something that go, wow, you know, you want something to bring you there to talk about it, you know, this is Port Huron, but it's just like nothing happens. And I think with this and your vision, you know, honest, if there's any kind of, you know, admiration or comment, I applaud both of you, you know, for this vision. And I'm glad that you got up here and explained it, you know, because it's nothing like having a shared vision, you know, so we could see what you see that's coming to Port Huron. So, you know, I just hope we could get everybody's full support, and we, you know, continue to support you as you go on in this project. Thank you too, James.
Yeah. Madam Mayor and Council, two quick things. The reimbursement cost in here, we came with that $1.6 million. This is not like we just sat down with Larry and said, he goes, well, I want to pay back for this, this, and this, and this. These have to be approved by the state of Michigan and my treasury.
Yeah.
So this was the state of Michigan had a sign off on this. Additionally, the Downtown Development Authority Board also has signed off on this as well, and intergovernmental agreement to make this happen. So the DDA looked at this and said, this is just important to our downtown. Significant amount of work went between David Haynes and the planning department, the county Brownfield Authority and the county. We worked with them closely as well. I also want to thank Mayor Rep and Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, who sat in on the negotiation meetings. There was a lot of, this comes to you in a massive packet, but there was a lot of meetings that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem were a part of to help negotiate that with the county chair and county administrator. And I will say this is a remarkable complex mezzanine financing package. I know Larry likes to portray himself as just a small-town developer, but he's quite sophisticated in what he's been able to pull off, and this is probably one of the most sophisticated deals I've been a part of. I've never sat in a room and actually got a finance education on something from Larry before on tax credits. So I've learned a lot during this process, but David Haynes and the county have done a lot of work behind the scenes as well. Jeff at the county has done an excellent job.
Right. And I think you've done an excellent job with laying it out also. The packet wasn't that complicated, you know. When you follow the table of contents, it actually respond to exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that you look for when you're doing a brownfield plan, key things that protects the city. And so it wasn't, you know, it wasn't rocket science, but it is a lot of work. And you have to have those checks and balances in order to make sure that this investment, we get our return on it, you know. So everything is in order.
And you bring up a good point of return on investment. If this development doesn't go through, or this doesn't happen, none of this goes forward.
Right.
So, because we're not putting any taxpayer money out, we're not going to lose any money, so we're not, you know, giving him $1.6 million and hoping he gets done. It's all contingent upon the project being completed or the city's not on anything.
Right.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Bowles.
James, this might be a little early, but let's say everything goes through, because Larry does good work, and it probably will all go through, let's hope. Has there been any projection on what the taxes our return to the city will be, you know, once all is said and done?
It's hard to ballpark, but by the time this is done, and you see you'll have a property that's now assessed at $200,000, and you can envision in 16 to 17 years, that'll be closer somewhere between $15 and $20 million of investment in the city.
Yeah.
That's not including the additional income tax from the residents occupying those homes as well. So those are pretty decently nice condos and lofts, and so there's not just property taxes, there's the income taxes, there's the people shopping downtown, so the spin-off economic impact is going to be pretty significant.
I did kind of understand that already, but I think it's helpful that people that are here and that are watching at home understand the return that will come back to the city on this. So, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from anybody on council? I just want to say it's really an exciting project, and I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, just from talking about all the different partners that have been involved in this, it's another instance where you know that collaboration works. You know, it's, you have to have partners in everything that you do. So, and I thank you for all of the partners that came forward to help Larry with this project. So, thank you. I think we're ready to take a vote. Item 1 under public hearing.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Public hearing number 2, and if there's no
I
issue,
think we
because
have
they're
to take them
both,
separate.
we do have to, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's,
Because one's the district and one's the actual approval, so go ahead.
To hear comments on the establishment of an obsolete property rehabilitation act district for the property at 318 Grand River Avenue. Following the hearing, council will consider a resolution to establish the district.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address public hearing number 2? Seeing none, I'll declare public hearing number 2 closed and ask for a motion to establish the district.
So moved?
Councilmember Pemberton, supported
Support.
by Councilmember Ashford. Is there any discussion? We will take the vote.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Public hearing number 3.
To hear comments on the application for an obsolete property rehabilitation exemption certificate for 318 Grand River Avenue for 10 years. Following the hearing, council will consider a resolution approving the application.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 3? Seeing no one, I'll declare the hearing closed and ask for a motion to approve the application.
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Beeden, supported by Councilmember Ashford. Is there any discussion? Take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on now to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any other item on the agenda or anything under the city's jurisdiction, please come forward and give us your name, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Ken Harris. I live at 1520 Wall Street, Port Huron. I guess first my topics tonight, which one I've gotten flack a little bit from as I walked around, is the chances that last week was supposed to be our zones area, the south of Port Huron, for the leaf pickup. And it didn't happen, so I understand, I seen some trucks over there on the start of it today, so I guess we're in some of that area. But I mean, it's a week behind, and there's another week from the north end after. So now we're messing with the weather. Another thing that I guess that kind of disturbs the residents on the south end is the reconstruction of 16th Street. In the last 10 working days, the general contractor hasn't been on that job 7 out of the 10 working days. And I see they were there today, and they got about 80% done today. So it's kind of ending, but it's frustrating for the people that can't get in their driveways, can't get on the street. And this has been going on for months that they put it up for it. When it looks like things were kind of coming to acclimation, then it didn't. Everything just seemed to stop. So I don't know if the contractor has time to go deer hunting or what, but the general contractor did nothing during that period of time. The other thing I'd like to speak shortly about is on resolution number 4 tonight. I think, I understand what we're trying to do with electronic meetings and stuff like that. But, I really appreciate what this council is doing past and now. And I just think that what we're doing here, I think we're setting an example for everybody else by having these meetings in person. I think you kind of damage the integrity of the process when you talk about going on Zoom or whatever it is like that. I know this is kind of a cover proposal, but I really think that we'd lose a little bit of integrity if we don't have our meetings as they're set now. Next thing that I kind of like to talk about, and I know it's just on there as a notice, but on resolution number 5 tonight, it speaks about our CDBG funding. I just like to think that with this funding of $170,000, I think the first thing that we should step forward and do as citizens of Port Huron is that, there's another announcement for COVID relief tonight. And if you really are following the news, that you will realize two of the cures for COVID are factored in that they have to be kept in an extremely cold environment. And that requires the purchase of special freezers, which keep product at 64 degrees below zero. I'm just hoping that the city of Port Huron can take $5 or $10 or $11,000, which is the approximate price for each of these freezers, and set that aside for COVID relief. So thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. I've asked the city manager prior to you coming up to give a report on the leaf pickup tonight at the end of the meeting, so, okay? Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the city council this evening? Please come forward and give us your name, and you have 4 minutes. Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Councilmember Ashford, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Moserak. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Moserak,
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Yes?
Councilmember Beeden,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. The items on the consent agenda, we received and filed notification that Thomas Rudicelli has been appointed by myself to the Traffic Study Committee for a term to expire March 14th, 2022. Received and filed notification from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission that an application has been received to transfer ownership of a 2020 Class C and SDM licensed business with Sunday sales permit, 4409 Quay Street, from Smith Nichols Investment Corporation to Alley LLC at the same address. Received and filed the November 3rd, 2020 election results for mayor, 3 council members, and the initiatory petition to allow marijuana facilities and establishments as canvassed by the St. Clair County Board of Canvassers, and scheduled a public hearing for December 14th, 2020 to receive comments on the general needs in community development, housing, and special services, utilizing the addition of CDBG, COVID CV emergency funds, and scheduling a second public hearing for January the 11th, 2021, to hear comments on a proposed amendment to the 2019 Annual Action Plan for the use of CDBG CV emergency funds. We will now go to resolution number 1.
Approving the master agreement for the municipal street lighting and purchase agreement with the DTE Electric Company to furnish, install, operate, and maintain street lighting equipment for 46 nautical streetlight fixtures and steel lamp posts located in the Desmond Landing area.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Lamb, is there a second?
Support.
Councilmember Beeden. And our city manager will explain this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. These lights are nothing new. This is actually a housekeeping measure. We have agreements with DTE. They provide all the maintenance and repairs to our streetlights for a bulk rate on many of our lights. Which is nice, because if there's 3 or 4 streetlights out, DTE has their very well-equipped team that comes in, fixes them all, and those repairs are factored in the cost. Because these lights are decorative and they're unique, we, in the agreement with DTE, is we'll keep a couple of these units on hand and we'll provide them when a repair is needed, since these aren't the typical just standard LED light you would see on a telephone pole or someplace. These are decorative lamps and whatnot. These are not new lights. We've had them in for many, many years. It's just a housekeeping measure to get a formal agreement in place on the maintenance of that and how we'll actually maintain the parts at our warehouse. With that said, as we all know, Councilmember Ashford works for DTE, so we expect your extension on this, and I appreciate that. They do an excellent job. DTE did. As we remember, we're the fastest LED replacement in the entire state of Michigan. They replaced 3,000 LEDs in our city 2 years ago, saving us $500,000 a year. So times that by 3, we've saved $1.5 million by working with DTE. Plus, the Majestic parking lot just got done, so DTE has been a great company to work with. So that's what these are, pretty much just a housekeeping measure.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Pemberton,
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford,
Abstain?
Councilmember Beeden,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Councilmember Moserak,
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 2.
approving the master agreement for municipal street lighting and the purchase agreement with the DTE Electric Company to furnish, install, operate, and maintain street lighting equipment for 15 decorative streetlight fixtures and aluminum lamp posts located along Dockside Drive.
Is there a motion?
Support? Right, yes,
You're moving.
moving, yes.
Support.
Councilmember Mosherek, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. This is the same explanation as before, correct?
Kind of, we're, as we know, we're working on a McMorran Plaza project, that $1.5 million.
You're in the wrong one. We're at Dockside.
Oh, God, you didn't take them together. Okay, I thought we took them together. I'm sorry.
So I said same explanation as before.
It's the first time that's happened in 13 years.
You moved on. Any questions from council on this item? It's just the same as the previous one, just a different location. We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Abstain.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherek?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. Item 3.
Authorizing the McMorran Place Commission to request funds from Community Foundation of St. Clair County in the amount of $200,000 from the McMorran Fund to be utilized towards the McMorran Place Plaza Improvements Phase 1 project.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Lamb, supported by Councilmember Beeden. And now you can get up.
I was getting into my notes. Mayor and council, as you know, we're doing the $1.5 million McMorran Plaza project. We have a fund at the Community Foundation, which we could have the ability to draw down upon. This would be a resolution, if needed be, to draw $200,000 to help facilitate that project.
Any questions for the city manager?
Mayor,
Councilmember Mosherek.
James, this is interesting to me. Mine's kind of a two-part question because the second means nothing without the first. What is the balance of that budget in that right now?
Okay, the balance at the foundation is around $463,000.
Okay, and we're looking at taking $200,000 out of that. If I remember correctly, about $40,000 a year is what's collected into that fund. What are the plans of recouping to get those numbers back up to the 463 level?
Correct. So the McMorran budget receives about $40,000 a year from interest on that fund. And so if we did draw upon it, we would have, so if we draw upon it one time for $200,000, we'd leave about an unencumbered balance of $263,000. So our interest on an annual basis that we get for repairs would be diminished going forward. That's why we put in your resolution as needed, meaning this would be the last money in the pot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager? Discussion?
I will note as well, we have been working with the contract, and we have value engineered cost savings of $107,000 already. So we've brought that price down to about $1.4 million and $54,000. We've done that through doing the demolition ourselves. So we've worked with a local contractor who did it for $30,000, $40,000 less than the line item to do the removal of the concrete. So we've been pretty thrifty in trying to reduce this, but we are still trying to fundraise. This project is nowhere close to the finish line when it comes to fundraising. There's gaps we're trying to work on. We're working with our federal partners on some possible funding options as well. So it's piece by piece, steady as she goes, to get this funding here. But this would be the last money in.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
To the last, the be it further resolved, do you have any conversation about, is subject to and contingent upon final approval? Do you have any feel for that it wouldn't?
No, we cleared
Yeah,
that
we
essentially.
cleared that hurdle?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
a housekeeping measure, but it shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We spoke with them before we brought this to you guys to make sure it was something they'd be open to.
So this is part for the course? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherek?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to item 4, please.
Adopting an electronic meeting policy to accommodate the absence of any member from a public meeting and to conduct a meeting in whole or in part electronically pursuant to the Open Meetings Act.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Support. Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Lamb. And, James, if you would explain this, please.
Madam Mayor and Council, after the executive orders were found to be unconstitutional by the Michigan Supreme Court, the governor and the legislature worked together on limited packages of COVID bills. Many communities across the state who don't have a facility as large as ours, I mean, we have a very large auditorium here. This seats close to 350 people. We have no more than maybe 20 in here tonight, 25 in here tonight. So we're able to social distance. Many communities don't have this. So they passed legislation because those, under the Open Meetings Act, there is no ability to do electronic meetings. So all these communities across the state of Michigan, I'd say 50-60% of them were doing electronic meetings. When they were found that the executive orders were unconstitutional, all those meetings would have been deemed illegal. And anything that happened in those meetings would be deemed essentially an invalid vote. So the legislature and the governor worked together to retroactively pass legislation that allowed for electronic meetings for any reason from April something till January 1st of next year, so in about a month and a half. After that point, they want cities to adopt an electronic meeting policy on how they will conduct electronic meetings and how it will work. We have no intention of wanting to do electronic meetings as long as we can. I spoke with the mayor today, and we want to continue to make this work, but we don't know how bad this is going to get. We don't know what the future holds, and so we need to have this ability to do an electronic Zoom meeting if the absolute we have to do it. One of the things this policy does now, the change to the Open Meetings Act, which we didn't have before, is say we have a member of council in the future who's a member of the military. Say they're a member of the National Guard, or they're a member of one of our branches and they're deployed someplace. They can actually Zoom in or do a digital meeting, an electronic vote, and be participating for the meeting from anywhere in the world. And so the ability that this will allow our service members to serve on council, many service members and National Guard members would love to serve on council, but they really don't have that opportunity because if they get deployed or in their training, they don't have the ability to call into the meeting. This addresses that. So it's for active military personnel and for health care and public safety to allow public meetings. It's very limited in scope. We just can't do it for the sake of doing it. And it puts the parameters in place on how those members who are absent will do it. But this is required to have this tool, not that we'll need it, but to have this tool after January 1st.
Yeah, James and I have talked about this quite a bit over the last month, and I had asked him to bring it forward because it's not that we wanted to go to electronic meetings, as we have managed to do this because we are capable of sitting apart, as he said. But there might come a time when it's very important that we don't meet. And it could be just, or 3 members of council come down with COVID.
Yep.
And can't meet. We could still have, not that we want that to happen, we could still meet in like this with the members that can, and
Yep.
the other ones can remotely be part of that meeting. And there was never any way to do that before.
Also, if you have a council member who is maybe at home battling an illness, whether it's COVID or not, or maybe
COVID or
a
otherwise.
cancer or something like
Yeah.
that, can't make it in, they can still participate, and also the service members.
So I think it's important to have it in place. It doesn't mean we're going to rush out and use it. It just is important to have it in place, because if something happened, God forbid, that we had it to and we weren't prepared, that would be even worse.
And besides the health component and the military service component, it has to be a state of emergency.
Yes,
So we just can't do it for the sake of doing it.
yeah.
Yeah, Mayor, I serve on the MML Elections Committee and also the Legislative Committee, and we put a lot of thought into this too, and working with the state on
Yeah.
reaching this policy. And we didn't really see it so much as a tool as much as we did insurance, because there are some people that can't, show up for meetings because of underlying conditions. And as you know, the policy calls for the doctor's prescription.
Yeah.
So there is a whole lot to it, and I do agree with it, but I think like we had in the public audience, Mr. Harris come to us and tell us about it does take away something,
Yeah.
from a public meeting. That is very true. I think COVID put a whole lot of norms that should be in place, and, you know, we got to look at it a different way. But I think moving forward, that we need to have something like this in place, because like you said, we don't know about the future. You know, we may know who hold the future, some of us, but we don't know about this future. And I think it's really incumbent upon us to respect this policy and pass this.
One of the things the mayor and I discussed today as well is we have a large segment of our population that is elderly. Technology is not easy. Downloading digital things and calling in for not everyone is easy. So because we are blessed with this large facility where we can socially distance, in addition to this, we're broadcast live on local cable access. So people can just flick on their TV and turn it to channel 6, and there we are. And so I agree with some of the public comment that, you know, not doing that, not having this facility here to not only do YouTube live and to put it on YouTube, but also to put it on local cable access so the elderly population can watch, and there are some people who watch at home. That was one of the other reasons why we strove to socially distance. We invested some money in some additional tables and technology to make it happen.
Thank you. Are there other questions at all on this resolution? Discussion? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. We'll move on to ordinances.
Second reading and enactment. An ordinance to repeal Chapter 12 Businesses, Article 13, Adult Use Marijuana Businesses of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Pemberton, is there support?
Support.
Councilmember Mosherak, is there any discussion?
Mayor, I should explain, the last time, I guess people thought I was crazy. I had voted, how I voted on this, I said, no, and I wasn't inferring that I was for it. It's just what a no or yes, you know, you can't abstain from it.
No.
So it was just nothing for me, and my vote was more towards being consistent. I didn't vote for it in the first place. So some people were really confused about that. There's one thing about, you know, what you say, you remember what you say and you walk your talk. And so it's not that I was saying to the state of Michigan, you know, because it passed and everything. No, I respect that, and nobody's above the law. And just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean that I don't respect it. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. I didn't lose my mind or anything like that. But to me, a yes or no wouldn't have been anything. But in terms of being consistent, I just wanted to be consistent.
Okay, thank
So
you.
there you have it.
Any other discussion on this item? We'll take the vote.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
No?
Councilmember Beeden?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes. That concludes our regular agenda. I do have a couple announcements, but before I do that, if I could ask the city manager to give us a little update on the leaf pickup program, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The leaf pickup, we set up the schedule. The dates that we have in there, that is the dates, the weeks we begin your zone. That's not mean the day or the week we'll get out there. It takes about 2 weeks to get through a zone. This year, very similar to last year, the first pickup, they hardly got anything because nothing had fallen. On November 10th at my house, I would say 85% of my leaves were up. 5 days later, they were all down. So my second leaf pack, I was knee deep, and I just barely got them out. It took them about a week to get out there to pick them up. Since then, I have about a pile more out there. What I tell people is it takes about 2 weeks to go through every zone because they're heavier now, because they all fell at once. Some years they don't fall until the first week in December. My first year here, we were worried because we were in December and we had not had the bulk of the leaf fall yet. So we're trying to budget, we're scheduling these times, leasing equipment, hiring temp workers a year away. And so Mother Nature has a word. So this is what I tell folks: if your leaves haven't been picked up yet, you have my personal guarantee that they will be picked up. They're finishing up zone. They have two to three trucks in zone 1 right now. They also have 1 or 2 vehicles in zone 2. They will continue through to finish that second pickup, and then starting next week, they will go through a third time and pick everyone up. So if you believe you have been missed, Just call our Public Works, we will take down your address, but you have my personal guarantee that all your leaves will be picked up.
Thank you.
Or that's worth to some people, but my personal guarantee.
You say call Public Works instead of the clerk's office, or?
But yeah, they can call the Public Works office and ask for Jennifer, and she'll take down your name. But it's what, just let folks know, it's, because it all fell at once, it's heavier, and when you have massive piles versus, typically they stratify the fall over about 4 to 6 weeks. Here it happened, we had the windstorm last week, which kind of knocked out the last bit of it. So we try to do about every zone 2 weeks, but it does take time, and we try starting the next zone with additional vehicles. So we do have 4 to 5 vehicles out there right now picking up the leaves, and they're not going to stop until they're all picked up, just like last year. If we have to shove them out of the snow, that's what we will do.
Okay. Mayor, if I could, I had one of our residents call us. Hers wasn't so much the leaf that pickup. Actually, a gentleman told me that we're doing a little bit, a lot better than we were last year in terms of the leaf pickup, but it's the bags. She put her bags out there, her leaf bags on her regular garbage day, and they were supposed to pick them up. And she called, I guess Sydney probably know her by heart, I don't know. But she kept calling, and they never did pick them up. And they told her to call the Public Works or whatever, and then they told her to call the leaf pickup people themselves. And she still didn't get any response. She said that, I think you just need to look into this, you know, they need.
Yeah, have her contact our office. I haven't made it to my desk, but I can look into that for
Well,
you.
somebody, oh, yeah, well, whoever, well, some kind of communication need to be made to them that, you know, if our residents are calling them, they need to return those calls. If they can't call them, there's a system, there's an application or something to get back with them in some kind of timely manner. You know, the worst thing to do to people is just to have them keep calling. She kept calling you, you know, and I had the same problem too. My bags were out there too. I left them out there all week because I wasn't dragging them back.
Yeah.
So I knew what she was talking about. So I just think that we need to put some pressure on them in terms of their system, their management, how they're managing that. You know.
Absolutely. But do note that sometime during the bulk leaf pickup, the bag pickup does stop temporarily.
It's already stopped.
Yeah, it's
I
stopped.
think the first
Well,
week
no,
of
this was
November.
prior to that. It
First
does
week of
stop.
November? It would be like 3
No,
weeks
this
ago.
was back then.
Oh.
We're just having the
Yeah, so
council.
give me the
now.
information, I'll have that taken care of.
Oh, okay.
Yep, this is the first I'm hearing about.
Yeah, no, you could take care of it. I don't have to get with you.
Well, I wanna
I'm
make
just
sure she's
telling
taken
you
care of. I get her
For
contact.
the future, that we need to close that gap.
Did she
You
get her
know.
bags picked up?
Yeah, she did
Okay.
finally
I
get
just
them
want to make sure
picked
she's
up.
taken care of.
Yeah,
Mayor,
thank you.
Yes.
just one
Councilmember
quick
Bozard.
comment that made me think of this. I had a call from a friend that's on Gratiot Ave, just right by Valentine. A couple Sundays ago, he had a large, I'm talking a 36-inch maple, 11 o'clock at night, Sunday evening, crashed in his front yard and across Gratiot. First thing he could think of was to call 911. Police, he was so impressed, within a minute, police officer was there, lights on, directing traffic, and Ben had his crew out there within the half hour to 45 minutes, and they spent 3 hours on a Sunday evening and cleaned that up, and he just couldn't have been more impressed. So I think it's real easy that we always criticize if something's wrong, but it's nice also to say kudos and good job to those guys for getting out and taking care of that so quickly. So thanks.
Very true. We do have a couple of announcements.
Mayor, if I could, just want to add, we had a big windstorm last week.
Yes, we did.
And because you guys authorized last year those 4 different batches of dead tree removals, we had the big one there, but we had very, very few than we normally have. So because we were proactive getting all those, I think it was like 150 dead trees removed in the last 2 years, that was really bad last week, so it would have been much worse. So we're trying to get ahead of that dead wood, and those contractors did a great job and really helped us with that last windstorm.
Thank you. City offices will be closed November the 26th and the 27th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And anyone who has trash pickup normally on Thanksgiving Thursday will be delayed until Friday. So keep that in mind. It will be Friday instead of Thursday if Thursday's your day. And also, I'd like to bring up that we have, we're always looking for people to serve on our boards and commissions. We have several vacancies on the boards and commissions. Some, it means that you'd have to have an interest particularly in that, like Beautification Commission or Sister City or something like that. We have vacancies on those. But we also have a vacancy on the Rental Housing Board of Appeals, but that does require that the person be a licensed architect. And we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission as well, and that does require that you are a city resident in order to serve on that. But those are opportunities, if you have an interest. Boards and commission's application is online. You can just go out there, fill it out, and mail it in, or drop it off at the clerk's office, whichever you'd like to do. But those are two opportunities for residents to serve. They'd like to do that. And I certainly would like to tell everyone, too, to hopefully have a happy Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be a little different for everybody this year. So you can enjoy it as much as you can. And obviously, hopefully, everybody stays safe and follows the guidelines that they need to follow. So, but that being said, I hope everyone has a nice, happy Thanksgiving. Is there anybody else on council who has anything that they'd like to say?
I do. If nobody else,
Councilmember
anybody
Ashford.
else, because I've been talking. Okay. Mayor, I'd just like to bring our attention to, we usually track our COVID cases. We do it statewide in St. Clair County, and we also do the United States. And I would just like to draw your attention to St. Clair County. On last, I think it was last Thursday, on the 19th, we had total confirmed cases in St. Clair County of 3,364. And I checked before I came here tonight. Now we're at 3,707. That's a total of 343 cases that that came about. And the deaths, we were at deaths here in St. Clair County. We were at 53 people dead for, a lot of months. Nothing was moving. And so on the 19th, we had 76 deaths, and now we're at 78 as of today. So I just want to continue to tell you to wear your mask and social distance. This is no joke, or anything, and I know people are not taking it like that, but, once you think that, we got it whipped, that everybody is okay, you're not okay because you don't know that if you haven't been tested. So I would just like to encourage everybody, just as the mayor said, just to continue to be safe, and because we want you around here as long as you can. It's nothing about trying to meet death halfway. So, we got to do what we have to do at this time. We're just living in some peerless times, and if we expect to be around, we just have to do what we can to be safe. And just wearing this mask is like 70% of the defense. I mean, it's 70% safe. I mean, you're keeping yourself safe, and you're keeping somebody else safe. So I just encourage you to do that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else on council have anything they'd like to say? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.